So we're just going to talk for a few minutes about the Andrews Pitchfork and how we use it in our trading. To begin with, I just want to talk about the different variations on the pitchfork that we use. The pitchfork itself requires 3 pivots, an A pivot, a B, and a C. And effectively, a pitchfork, when drawn through the 3 pivots, will appear like this. The median line, which is the central spine of the pitchfork, is the line about which we expect price to gravitate. So for example, if we move up, start to move back towards support, up towards resistance, back towards support, you can see that broadly speaking, what's happening here is that we're gravitating about the median line. Other lines of interest are the lower parallel, which is the lower line here, and the upper parallel. So now this is an Andrews pitchfork. If we were to look at another variation on the fork, which would be a Schiff, and you can tell a Schiff pitchfork, it's a fork where the A pivot has been moved up vertically 50% of the way towards the B price. So again, if you're looking at a pitchfork and you can see that the pivot is in this area here, you can tell this is a regular Schiff because the A of the fork is vertically above the A pivot. Another variation that we use is a modified Schiff. Now a modified Schiff is one where the A pivot is moved up 50% of the way vertically in price towards the B pivot, which is over here, and then moved forward 50% of the way in time again towards the B pivot. So one of the ways that you can tell that this is a modified Schiff is by drawing a line from the A to the B, and then halfway along, that will be where the tail originates. That is a modified Schiff, and it's used typically in markets that are not trending in a particularly steep manner. So you can see that the modified Schiff is a more shallow fork, whereas the Andrews fork is far steeper. So how do we use the pitchfork? Well, again, what we're looking for is to identify a fork, or use a fork rather, to identify movement in a general slope. The way that I use pitchforks is that I use them to tell me the approximate slope of price. Let me just look at a couple of examples. This is gold on a weekly chart. And we have an Andrews fork here that has been working very well. And you can see that what's been happening is that gold has moved up to the median line, fallen back to support. We have more resistance at the median line, more support, and again, and again, and again. So you can see that the fork is working. And the way I describe it is that we're looking for validation of the slope. We need something to validate the fork, to tell us that the fork is working. So how do we use it? Well, for me, I will only trade in the direction of a proven fork. So in this instance, we obviously have an uptrending fork. So for me, the only trade is a long. And that would be a case of getting long at support, any of these areas here, and riding that up to resistance. The other way that I look to use pitchforks is to identify a change in behavior. Think about what's been happening with gold. We have support, and again, and again. Multiple times we have support. This is kind of a bit of a change of behavior. This is the first time we've popped beneath the lower parallel, but we recover. But now look what happens. Now we fall all the way beneath the fork, rise back up, and look what happens here. The lower parallel, which had been support from 2009 all the way through until 2012 almost, has now become resistance. Think about it this way. A line that has been support many times has breached and become resistance. So in that instance, you are now looking for a move lower. Support has become resistance. So let's see what happened with gold. And this is a chart that we use every day. I mean, effectively, we're posting this analysis each morning to the morning analysis members. And so we were bullish gold all the way up until this area here. This is actually when, in fact, I suggested that you actually want to start looking to draw in a downtrending fork. So again, look what we've done. We've used the change in behavior where support has become resistance, and we've used it to draw in a downtrending fork. Look at the red fork. This is another Andrews fork. And you can see that what I've done is I've used the change in behavior in this area here to drive me to add a new downtrending fork. And as we move forward, you can see how well it worked. It carried gold a lot lower. In fact, we've been down to $1,175. Once we start pulling back up towards resistance, which again is the top of the fork, that's the place to look for a bit of a pullback, a bit of a dip in gold. Now, whether we're looking at gold, the Swiss franc, the Aussie, CAD, it's irrelevant. It works in currencies, it works with equities, it works with commodities. I predominantly use this in Forex. Forex is actually what I trade. But you can see how well this was actually working in gold. So again, resistance was in this area. So what am I looking for moving forward? Well, let's just say over the next several weeks, gold pops up to about 1460. Now I have a change of behavior. I would actually look then to see whether gold would fall back, find support upon the top of the fork that had previously been resistance, all the way back here. And that would be a change of behavior. And in that instance, I would then look for an uptrending fork, something like this. So this is just a very, very short view, 6-7 minutes long. I just wanted to show you very quickly the 3 versions of an Andrews pitchfork that I use, very quickly how we use them, and just to give you an idea in one particular vehicle, in this instance gold, how you could have used it to be on the right side of the trend. Bull trend, which lasted until basically the beginning of 2012, but it's very apparent now that we actually have a change in behavior and we're now in a downtrend. And so until we breach the upper parallel of the downtrending fork, you would need to be very, very cautious of getting long or bullish. I hope this is useful to you. Again, we apply this method on all of the major currencies as well as the cross pairs every morning across at Coghlan Capital. Hope this has been useful. Have a good one. Bye-bye.